Lost Arab Millionaire exposed, how one black boy's heartwarming act changed everything forever. Just outside a rundown community center in Detroit, a 12-year-old boy named Jamal stumbled upon a crumbling playground half buried in weeds and dust. It was forgotten, but whispers of laughter still echoed through the rusted swings, reminding him of happier days when kids ran wild and played until the sun dipped below the horizon. Jamal's heart ached. In a neighborhood where hope felt like a distant dream, he saw potential lurking beneath the grime, a vibrant oasis for children craving joy. "Hey, we gotta fix this," Jamal shouted to his friends. They gathered around, their faces brightening with excitement. Jamal's mother, a dedicated nurse, always told him that hard work and compassion could pave the way to change. Those words fueled his resolve. By the end of school, they mapped out a plan: paint cans, brushes, and hammers. They were set to transform this forgotten playground into a place of laughter. Meanwhile, an Arab millionaire, Akeem, stood at a distance, watching. Burdened by the wealth that separated him from the community of his childhood, he felt like a ghost. A fancy suit couldn't shield him from the prejudice in the eyes of the people he cherished. Akeem was drawn to Jamal's infectious spirit, yet he remained locked in doubt, questioning his own worth against the backdrop of a community that seemed to shun him. As Jamal and his crew worked, each swing was kissed with color, and with every brushstroke, their dream flickered to life. But just as hope was blooming, a financial crisis crashed down like a dark thundercloud. Supplies costs soared, and despair seeped into the cracks of their optimism. Jamal's heart sank. How could he let these kids down? Just when he thought he couldn't bear the weight of broken dreams, he rallied his friends and reached out to the entire neighborhood, calling for a town meeting. Voices echoed with passion, shaking the very foundation of fear and division. Jamal stood proud, sharing the dreams of every child who deserved to believe they could play freely. And then he saw Akeem in the back, hesitant yet attentive. Jamal harnessed every ounce of courage. "We can't do this alone," he urged, "but we can do this together. Everyone deserves a place to play." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The meeting became a symphony of unity, weaving the threads of community into a tapestry of hope. As the townsfolk began to understand Jamal's vision, the atmosphere shifted. Akeem's heart pounded in his chest. Could he step out of those shadows? Could he share his own story and bridge the gap forged by misunderstanding? Jamal glanced back at the playground, each stroke of paint a testament to resilience. Uncertainty swirled around them like leaves in the wind. The laughter of children echoed in his mind, and he believed, just believed, that one young boy's act of kindness could genuinely change everything. But the question loomed, would Akeem find the courage to join them? The sun dipped low in the sky, leaving everything hanging in balance, waiting for the next move. The room was thick with anticipation, breaths held like a fragile secret. Akeem felt every heartbeat thumping in his ears as he considered stepping forward into the light. The weight of his past, woven with wealth and distance, almost kept him rooted in place. But Jamal's words wrapped around him like a lifeline, tugging at a part of his soul that longed for connection. Maybe, Akeem whispered to himself. His hands were clammy, and his mind raced. Memories of a childhood spent in neighborhood games flooded him. Those carefree days now felt like a dream in a different world. He had built his empire, but in doing so, he had built walls all around himself, isolating him from the laughter and joy he once knew. Jamal's voice broke through his thoughts. "We can revitalize this playground." The crowd erupted in murmurs, some skeptical, but many wide-eyed with a glimpse of hope. "With enough community effort, we can make this a safe haven for the kids, but we need resources. We need everyone's help." Akeem felt a fire igniting in his chest. He had all the resources one could wish for, yet here stood this boy, this shining beacon of hope, asking for unity, not charity. Akeem realized he held the power to give back, not just as a benefactor, but as a part of something bigger. Tentative steps urged him closer to the crowd, his mind racing to summon the courage. The chatter quieted as Jamal noticed Akeem moving through the room. All eyes turned to the wealthy stranger in his tailored suit. The silence was palpable, filled with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Would this man really want to make a difference, or would he just bring more complications? Clearing his throat, Akeem finally spoke, his voice steady but low. I grew up here. I know this playground. I spent countless days laughing and playing with my friends. His eyes darted around, meeting hesitant glares and a few hopeful eyes. I am willing to help. I want to help. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jamal's heart raced with disbelief and excitement. Was this really happening? Akeem's willingness to stand with them looked like a turning point. Perhaps the chasm of distance could be bridged after all. If you trust me, we can bring this place back to life together. Akeem's confidence began to build, bolstered by Jamal's fiery determination. I can fund the materials we need. Paint, swings, everything. But I want to work beside you. Jamal couldn't believe what he was hearing. The shadows of doubt started lifting. Yes. Let us do it together. He shouted, hope ringing in his voice. The crowd erupted into applause. Murmurs of approval and gratitude began to fill the space, lifting the tension as smiles transformed faces. A sense of community began to bloom, the weight of past prejudices lessening under the warmth of this new bond forged by shared dreams. But as cheers filled the room, Akeem felt something tugging at him. There were still challenges ahead. Would the community truly accept him after years of distance? Just as the current of change swept over them, a shadow of doubt clouded his thoughts. Jamal's eyes sparkled with joy as he looked at Akeem. Let us get to work then. He turned to his friends, ready to start planning their victory over neglect, but uncertainty still lingered in Akeem's heart. Could he really become part of this family? With the crowd buzzing with anticipation, a new chapter began to unfold. Yet, in the back of Akeem's mind, another question lingered: what would it take to truly earn their trust? The moment was there, electrifying and filled with potential, but as the sun set, they knew a deeper challenge lay ahead. Would the community allow a man who once hid in the shadows to stand beside them? Akeem stood there, the warmth of the crowd wrapping around him like a blanket. Excitement and anxiety intertwined in his mind. As they began to cheer for the future, he felt a longing that threatened to consume him. This was the community he had left behind, a place of laughter and friendships that felt nearly lost to him now. Yet here was Jamal, who dared to hope. You're really gonna do this? Jamal approached Akeem with a wide grin, his youthful energy contagious. You'll help rebuild the playground? Akeem nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, I want to be here with you. Doubt flickered behind his resolve. What if they found out who he really was, beneath the suit and money? Would they see him as merely a stranger with pockets full of cash? The group began to buzz with energy. Plans were being laid, as if the playground was already rising from the ground. Akeem could hear laughter spill from Jamal's friends, their voices full of determination. Let us name it Unity Playground, shouted one teenager, and a chorus of enthusiasm erupted around him. Unity. Akeem tasted the word. To him, it was more than just a name, it was a promise. But how could he honor that promise when he wasn't sure if he belonged? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the makeshift meeting. Akeem's thoughts drifted to the gardens of his childhood home, where joy bloomed with every sunrise. That happiness had been stripped down over the years, replaced by the expectations of wealth and status. Now, could he step into this new light and find that happiness again? Let us meet here tomorrow to start planning, Jamal declared, clapping Akeem on the shoulder. His boldness was inspiring. You'll help us figure it all out, right? Akim's heart raced at the idea of it. Of course, he replied, though uncertainty crept in again. Could he really fit in with those who had grown up in a world so different from his? As they dispersed, Akim lingered, observing the energy shift from serious discussions to laughter and play. Children darted between adults, their giggles echoing the very promise of this playground. He felt a longing to join them, a yearning to reconnect with the joy he had lost. Don't worry, Akim. You'll do great. Jamal waved as he and his friends disappeared down the street. For a moment, Akim stood alone, the weight of the suit feeling heavier than ever. Would the past he thought he had left behind, the memories of a boy afraid and alone, resurface like a long-buried treasure? Or was it time to build something new? As he turned to leave, the brightness in the sky dimmed, clouds rolling in to cloak the horizon. A storm was brewing, a physical representation of the turmoil inside him. What if tomorrow brought more than just planning? What if it brought confrontation, whispers, or deep-seated grudges? What if it was everything he feared? Akim took a deep breath, willing himself to face the storm. With a determined nod, he began to walk away, but in his heart, another question lingered: could change truly take root, or was he simply chasing shadows from the past? As darkness fell around him, the playground behind him felt both familiar and foreign. Yet he knew one thing: he had to try. Despite the storm ahead, the desire to connect, to poke his head into the light, burned strong. Tomorrow wouldn't just be about rebuilding structures, it would be about rebuilding trust, but would he be strong enough to face what lay beneath the surface? The next morning, Akim woke to a sky painted in heavy grays. The storm from the night before had passed, leaving a chill in the air. He glanced out the window, watching the raindrops race down the glass. He had spent the night tossing and turning, haunted by the possibilities of what lay ahead. He dressed slowly, the fabric of his suit still feeling foreign against his skin. With each button he fastened, he felt the weight of the day piling on his shoulders. What if Jamal and the others saw through his carefully constructed facade? What if they discovered the truth about his wealth, his background? He took a deep breath, hoping the air would somehow dispel his fear. As he stepped outside, a brisk breeze cut through him. The roads glistened, and though puddles formed along the edges, there was a sense of freshness in the world. This new day offered hope, but the cold reality of his fears lingered. He made his way to the park, heart pounding. When he arrived, he was met with a small group of eager faces, all waiting for him. Jamal was there, bouncing on his toes, as if he couldn't contain his excitement. Akim! You made it! Jamal exclaimed, his enthusiasm cutting through the morning chill. We got some great ideas to discuss. Akim forced a smile, but inside, a storm raged anew. They were counting on him, but he felt like a stray dog in a pack of wolves. As he began to speak, he found that the fear didn't dissipate. Instead, it wrapped tighter around him. Let's huddle up, he said hesitantly. They formed a circle, and Akim could feel their expectant gazes on him. I think we should start by talking about what this playground means to all of you. Voices chimed in, sharing personal stories about growing up in the neighborhood, how they played there after school, how they had built friendships under the old trees. Akim listened, his heart swelling yet again with that mix of joy and anxiety. They didn't hold back, and he admired their honesty, but when it was his turn to share, the sound of silence wrapped around him. What could he say that wouldn't shatter their trust? What could he reveal that wouldn't bring back the shadows of his past? Jamal's bright eyes locked onto him. You're part of this now, Akim. You can tell us. In that moment, Akim saw not just children seeking a playground, he saw a community yearning for connection. He understood, at the core, they were looking for someone who cared, someone who would step up not just with money, but with heart. I want you to understand why I'm here, Akim finally said, his voice trembling. I want to be better for all of you. But he hesitated. I hope you will give me a chance, even if I'm not exactly like you. As his words hung in the air, he felt the weight of judgment slowly lifting, but only slightly. The kids shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded, while others exchanged uncertain glances. Then, out of the blue, Jamal stepped closer. "You know why you're here? Because you want to help. That's what matters. We all deserve a second chance, right?" Akeem felt a rush of relief and gratitude. Jamal's words broke through the fog of his fears, igniting a spark of determination within him. But as he looked into their trusting faces, the doubt remained. What if this was the moment everything unraveled? Just as Akeem opened his mouth to respond, a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, surprisingly shaking him to his core. Was it a sign? Could the storm of his truth finally come crashing down? "Let us get started on those plans," Jamal exclaimed, snapping Akeem from his thoughts. They dove into discussions and ideas. Laughter erupted between mix-ups and brainstorming while Akeem began to feel the edges of hesitation fade, but deep down, the question haunted him: was he building a bridge toward new beginnings, or was he only laying the groundwork for an inevitable collapse? Akeem clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay present. He had come this far and it was time to move forward. Yet the storm clouds loomed again, ready to unleash their fury. How long could he live in the shadow of his secrets? And if they found out, would he still have a place in their hearts? Akeem took a deep breath, shaking off the chill that gripped him tighter with each passing moment. They were deep into brainstorming now, throwing around ideas for the playground that seemed to flow like the laughter in the air. Time slipped away, and for a moment, he felt part of something greater. Jamal's energy was contagious, making Akeem forget, if only for the briefest second, about the secrets he carried. "Okay, what if we add a mini basketball court over there?" suggested Mia, a girl with big dreams dancing in her eyes. "We can have tournaments. Or a splash pad." "Splash pads are fun," shouted Kevin enthusiastically, causing the others to break into laughter. Akeem's heart warmed at their eagerness. It felt good to envision something tangible, something that brought smiles rather than tension. But just as the joy ignited, clouds gathered ominously in the back of his mind. Who was he to stand in front of them, pretending he belonged? "Let us mix it up a little." Jamal's voice cut through the air again. "Akeem, what do you think? You've seen parks in fancy places, right?" Caught off guard by the question, Akeem felt all eyes on him, waiting for his perspective. "Well, I think it should reflect you guys," he stammered, searching for the right words. "I mean, this is your home. Your stories should shape it." A wave of nodding heads affirmed his sentiments. Jamal grinned, clearly pleased. "Yes. That's what we want. We want it to feel like ours." The air felt electric. Akeem leaned into the moment, inspired by their commitment. Yet still, a heaviness settled in his gut. He could almost hear the warning bells chiming within him. He wasn't just offering ideas. He was baring his soul to a group of kids from a different world. After hours of planning, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow upon the park. Laughter lingered, weaving through early evening air. Akeem dared to permit himself a fleeting sense of hope, but then, like the crack of thunder that had shaken his confidence, Jamal turned to him with a question laced in curiosity. "Hey Akeem, can I ask you something?" Akeem's heart raced. "Sure. What was your playground like when you were little? Did you have fun?" The question echoed painfully. Imagery flooded him: wealthy gatherings, pristine parks with manicured lawns, but never the sense of belonging that the kids in front of him shared. He had been a ghost, just watching. I didn't have a playground like this," Akeem confessed, feeling vulnerability coat his words. "I had things, but they meant nothing without friends." The air grew still. The kids exchanged glances, almost appraising him anew. "And that's why we want this," Jamal blurted, breaking the tension. "To bring everyone together. You know, everyone deserves a place to play, right? Akeem nodded, though each word bled new fears into his heart. Would they really see him as a partner? The truth weighed on him like a boulder, threatening to crush everything he had started to build. Just then, Akeem's phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. He fished it out, glancing at the screen. The name felt like a ghost from his past, his family's advisor, the one person he hoped to keep away from this new chapter. The urgency of the message made his stomach drop. "We need to talk. It's about the estate. The truth will come out soon." A chill ran down his spine as he looked at the kids before him. "I have to," he stammered, words escaping him. "Hey. You okay?" Jamal's concerned eyes bore into him. Akeem swallowed hard, wrestling with his next words. "I'll be right back," he said, already starting to step away. But could he really leave them? Could he risk shattering the trust they'd built? Each step felt like a betrayal, and with each step, the storm inside him roared louder than the sky above. As he turned his back on their laughter, doubt loomed larger than ever. What was waiting for him on the other side? Maybe, just maybe, finding the answer could change everything forever. Akeem paused, the laughter echoing behind him like a fading dream. He could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on him. The warmth of their vision, the hope they were building together, shattered at the edges as he stepped away toward the trees that surrounded the park. "Just a quick chat," he mumbled to himself, trying to convince his heart not to race. But with every step, doubt crept deeper into his mind. What truth could the advisor bring to light? Secrets buried beneath layers of privilege and expectation, overshadowing everything he had just begun to embrace. As he stepped into the shadows, Akeem glanced back, hoping, maybe wishing, that something would stop him. But the kids remained wrapped in their murmured excitement and dreams. He felt like an outsider again, glimpsing a world he didn't truly belong to. The path led him to a small clearing where he could finally breathe. He glanced at his phone, anxiety prickling up his spine. The message was still there, glaring at him. He knew he had to respond. Tapping out a quick reply, he found himself staring at the ground, lost in thought about his own past, about the void that had shaped him. Fancy events where everyone else laughed and played, but he always stood off to the side, a silent observer. Minutes passed, and silence wrapped around him. He gathered his courage and texted back, "I'll be there." Just 4 words, yet they felt like chains anchoring him to a world of chaos. He took a deep breath, preparing himself to face what was waiting. When he emerged from the trees, he caught sight of Jamal and the others. Laughter still danced in the air, and the kids were animatedly discussing which slides they should include. Somehow, they hadn't noticed his absence. "Hey, you okay?" Jamal called out, his voice bright, instantly filling Akeem with warmth. "You were gone for ages." A wave of guilt surged through Akeem. "Yeah, just needed some air," he said with a forced smile, but it felt so inadequate. He stepped closer, feeling the urgency of their connection. "You guys, you're really inspired, huh?" "Of course." Mia chimed in, "We're gonna have the best playground ever. And when it's done, we all get to play." Akeem felt the fear begin to ease. Maybe he didn't have to carry his secrets alone anymore. Maybe he could be part of something bigger than his past. "But," Jamal continued, "you seemed a little down. Are you sure you're all right?" The weight of honesty battled within him. Did he tell them about the estate? Would it change how they saw him? "It's complicated," he said finally. "But I'm here, right? We're building this together." The kids nodded, and the laughter resumed, filling Akeem's heart with hope. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the park, Akeem felt a surge of determination. Maybe the truth would come out, but maybe it wouldn't matter as long as he stood with them together against the shadows of doubt. But before he could feel entirely reassured, another message blinked on his phone screen. He swept it open, bracing himself. The word sent a shiver through him. "You should know, someone from the estate has been asking about you. Things are about to change." The laughter around him faded to a distant hum as he processed that statement. Was it possible for everything to unravel so quickly? He glanced back at Jamal and the others, who were now discussing bright colors for the playground. Hakeem gulped, heart racing. Could he really hold on to this new life? Questions swirled in his mind. With his past creeping up, would he lose everything he had just begun to gain? Would the truth shatter their dreams before they even had a chance to sprout? What awaited him as the sun dipped beyond the horizon? Hakeem's heart raced, pounding like a drum in his chest. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, but he felt trapped in a shadow of uncertainty. Everything he'd just discovered, the laughter, the camaraderie, now felt fragile, as if it could shatter at any moment. "Hey, Hakeem?" Jamal's voice brought him back. "Want to help us pick the colors for the playground?" Hakeem forced a smile and stepped toward the group. The vibrant hues they discussed, the joy in their voices, lifted his spirits even as the weight of the message lingered in the back of his mind. "Sure, what colors do you all think?" "Blue and green," Mia shouted, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Those are the sky and grass. It gives off good vibes, right?" Jamal nodded. "And how about red for the slide? It'll be bright and fun." As they debated colors, Hakeem watched their animated faces and felt a flicker of warmth in his chest. Here were kids who found joy in simple things, who believed in a future they didn't fully understand yet. For a fleeting moment, his worries faded, but just as quickly, the reality of the estate crept back in. What if they found out? What if he was suddenly pulled back into that world he thought he'd left behind? "Hey, you good, man?" Jamal asked again, concern lacing his voice. "Yeah," Hakeem replied, but his voice betrayed him, wavering like a fragile leaf in the wind. Jamal studied him, his brow furrowing. "You sure? You seem tense." Hakeem bit his lip. The truth almost slipped out, but he held it in. Instead, he managed a nod. I've got a lot on my mind. You know, thinking about the playground and school." The kids continued to chatter, but Hakeem felt the familiarity of anxiety clutching at him. He excused himself, stepping out of the circle again, needing space to breathe. The message from the advisor haunted him. It lingered like a storm cloud overhead. What did it mean? Who was asking about him, and why did it matter now? "Hey," Mia trotted over to him, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "What's up? You simply disappeared again." Hakeem recoiled at her question. "I just need to think for a minute." "About what?" "We're supposed to be having fun." Her innocent curiosity seemed to pierce right through the tangled mess in his mind. "It's just hard sometimes. You know?" Mia paused, her young face serious, as if contemplating his words. "You can tell us anything, Hakeem. Friends help each other." Her sincerity struck him. This was what he'd been missing all the years he'd spent alone, disguised behind walls. He didn't want to let them down, but the truth felt like a heavy anchor. Before he could respond, Jamal and the others joined them. "Let's make a decision," Jamal said, thrusting a few colorful sketches at Hakeem. "You've got to help us out here. You're part of our crew." Taking a deep breath, Hakeem looked at the drawings, vibrantly alive and full of potential. The laughter bubbled up again, and he found himself torn between two worlds. As darkness enveloped the park, he took a step back, letting the laughter wash over him. Could he really keep this newfound happiness, while the past hovered just out of sight? Then his phone vibrated again, breaking his concentration. Heart hammering, he hesitated before checking. This time, the message was even more direct: "You must make a choice. Come home or face consequences." A pit grew in Hakeem's stomach. The crossroads had arrived much sooner than he expected. Could he truly choose? Could he let go of the past and embrace the future he desired? His eyes darted from the glowing screen to the kids laughing near the swings, their carefree spirits so different from his past life. Would stepping back into that world mean leaving behind the hope they had kindled together? Feeling as if time had stopped, Akeem finally whispered to himself, "What do I want?" As the laughter continued, Akeem realized he had a decision to make. But even as he fought against the pulls of his past, deep down, he knew the answer was never going to be easy. What awaited him if he walked back into the world he barely knew anymore? And could he find a way to protect the light growing around him? The laughter faded into the background as Akeem's phone buzzed in his pocket again. He stared at it, feeling the weight of the words press down on him like a heavy blanket. What would happen if he chose to stay? What repercussions would follow if he walked back into his old life? He could hear the sounds of joy, the innocent shouts, and peals of laughter echoing from the playground. Each laugh seemed to pull him in one direction, while the ominous message pulled him back toward the shadows he'd fled. "What are you thinking about?" Mia's voice broke through his thoughts, gentle yet insistent. Akeem turned to her, his heart aching at the concern etched on her small face. "Just, everything," he sighed. "I'm not sure how to make sense of stuff." Jamal stepped closer, wrapping an arm around Akeem's shoulder. "Hey, whatever it is, we can handle it together. You're not alone in this, Akeem. Not now." Those words hung in the air like a lifeline. Their kindness filled him with warmth and an aching sense of longing, a longing to belong, to be part of something that wasn't tied down by fear or betrayal, but the past had a way of catching up. The advisor's message twisted inside him, relentless and unyielding. A choice loomed before him like a vast, open field, waiting for him to take a step in any direction. "Why don't we pick a color that represents who we are?" Akeem suggested suddenly, trying to shift the conversation. "Something that shows our team spirit." Mia's eyes lit up. "Yes. Like a rainbow. Everyone can pick a color." "Okay, I'm down for teal." Jamal laughed. "I just like how it sounds. Teal." A wave of energy surged through Akeem as they all began to share colors, their voices rising and weaving together like a vibrant tapestry. He allowed himself to be enveloped in the moment, even tearing his gaze away from the tethered past lurking just beyond reach. For a split second, he started to forget the heaviness, and it felt good, but unease crept back in as his phone buzzed again. A fat drop of sweat rolled down his back, and the scent of damp grass mixed with distant barbecue filled his senses. He pulled the device out, but this time it was a phone call, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. His heart raced again, echoing with the faintest ticks of both hope and panic. Should he answer it? The kids were still laughing, their innocence crashing against the barriers he felt closing in on him. "Are you going to get that?" Jamal asked, glancing at Akeem's phone. Amusement faded into curiosity, which then morphed into concern. "Maybe it's important," Mia added softly, her head tilted in genuine interest. Akeem hesitated. The crossroads were bearing down on him harder than he ever anticipated. The decision was screaming at him now, to engage with whoever was on the other end, or to ignore it and remain in the sanctuary of their laughter. With a deep breath, he swiped to answer, his heart drumming wildly as he brought the phone to his ear. "Hello?" "Akeem," the voice was thick and familiar. "You've taken too long. We need to talk." It felt like ice water pouring down his spine. The sun was setting, but Akeem felt darkness closing in. His eyes darted back to his friends, their smiles fading into the background, lost in the shadow of the choice he hadn't made yet. What would he say? What choice would he have to make next? The laughter faded into a haunting memory. A promise shimmered within reach, but could he keep it? The moment stood still, pregnant with unspoken possibilities. As the call continued, Akeem felt he was teetering on the edge of two different worlds, each pulling him apart. Could he confront what lay on the other side of that voice? Or would he pull back into the warmth of new friendships, even if it meant risking everything? Akeem's grip tightened on the phone as the voice on the other end continued to speak, each word slick with pressure. The world around him began to blur. Laughter drifted away, replaced by the rhythmic pulse of his own heartbeat. "We can't wait much longer, Akeem. They're on to you." A swell of panic washed over him. "What do you mean?" he whispered, glancing toward Mia and Jamal, who were still cheerfully debating the merits of their chosen colors. How could they be so blissfully unaware while he was on the precipice of something so daunting? "You know exactly what I mean. You think you can just walk away? You owe us." The weight of the past loomed over him, dark and heavy. Memories of promises made and unfulfilled obligations floated in his mind like phantoms. But Akeem couldn't allow himself to be drawn back into that life. His heart screamed for freedom, for the laughter that surrounded him now, and he was terrified of losing it. I can't," he managed to say. The words felt like betrayal, slipping out of his mouth and tapping deeper into his foundation of hope. "I'm not going back." On the other end, silence extended like an aching wound, before the voice returned, sharper this time. "You think it's just a choice for you to make? Think again. There are consequences, Akeem. You need to come back and settle this." His breath quickened. A new sense of urgency clouded his mind. What could they possibly want that would cost him the peace he had started to find? Would it put Mia and Jamal at risk? His teeth clenched together as fear coiled around his chest. "I can't let you hurt them," Akeem replied, each syllable hanging heavy with determination. He wasn't just a boy torn between two worlds anymore. He was stronger now, aware of the light at his fingertips and unwilling to let it go out. "Be careful with your choices, Akeem. You don't know what we're capable of." Before he could respond, the line went dead. He was left holding his phone, his heart racing against a backdrop of fading laughter. When he finally looked up, Mia and Jamal were staring at him, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern. "What was that about?" Jamal asked, brows furrowed. "It was nothing," Akeem lied, forcing a smile, but it felt weak and fragile compared to the turmoil inside him. Mia stepped forward, her small hand reaching out to touch his arm. "You're not alone in this. If something's bothering you, please talk to us." A wave of warmth flooded through Akeem. He needed to protect them, to shelter them from the storm brewing on the horizon. But the heavy burden of secrecy sat like a stone in his gut. How could he share what he couldn't fully understand himself? He swallowed hard. "It's just. I have a few things to sort out. I'll handle it." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the playground. The laughter echoed faintly, yet felt distant now, as if it belonged to another world. A sense of inevitability sank in. He had to choose a path soon, but which one would lead him back to light? "I should get going," Akeem said, glancing briefly at the playground before turning to his friends. "Let me check on something." "Wait, Akeem," Mia called, her voice laced with fear of loss. "Promise you won't keep us in the dark. We're in this together." He stopped, torn. Could he open up about the storm inside him, the decisions that threatened to rip his newfound happiness away? Before he could respond, a bubbling anxiety rose within him. He nodded slowly, hoping to keep the promise he couldn't yet fulfill. Their faces beamed with trust, and for a moment, he felt the collective hope between them, the fragile thread tethering him away from the darkness. As he turned to walk away, Akeem felt as if he stood on a cliff's edge. There was a rush within him, and he knew he couldn't ignore what lay ahead. Yet, would he be strong enough to face it, or would he allow the shadows to claim him once more? And before he stepped fully into uncertainty, the question lingered in his mind: what would he sacrifice to protect the light shining in their eyes? Akeem stood at the edge of the playground, caught in a storm of emotions. The laughter of children swirled around him like a comforting blanket, yet beneath that warmth lay a chilling worry, a worry that threatened to consume the joy he found in their camaraderie. "See you soon, Akeem," Jamal called out, his voice filled with hope and excitement. Akeem took a deep breath and turned to meet Jamal's wide grin. In that moment, he saw the innocence and trust in Jamal's eyes, the kind of trust he wanted to shield. Could his secret hurt them? A chill ran down his spine. As he walked away, he knew a choice lay before him, clear and daunting. The message from the estate advisor throbbed in his mind, each word echoed, creating a cacophony of fear and anger within him. But a thought surged forward through the chaos: I can't let them down. I need to protect their dreams. Determined, he turned back. The sky started to clear, rays of sunlight breaking through clouds, as if urging him to resolve the conflict choking his heart. A gathering cloud of uncertainty dissipated like the storm outside as he returned to the playground. "Hey, everyone!" Akim's voice rang out as he stepped up to Jamal and Mia, who were still animating plans for the playground. I need to talk to you guys about something." They paused, and a hush fell over the group. He swallowed hard, steeling himself for the vulnerability ahead. "I want to be honest about why I'm here." They leaned in, faces expectant, encouragement floating in the air. "I know I showed up with a lot of resources. But the truth is, I've been scared to be part of this community again, scared that my past would haunt me, that you guys might never trust me." The weight of his confession lifted a small part of his chest. Jamal empathized. "Dude, we all have stuff we're afraid of. But look at us, we're still here. We believed in you because you stepped up." Mia nodded. "Exactly. What matters now is what we can do together." A surge of warmth flooded Akeem, igniting the fire of hope that had been dimmed by his worried thoughts. "Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm in. I want to help you build Unity Playground, not just as a donor but as a friend. You guys deserve a place to play. And I'm not letting my past ruin that." The word friend hung in the air like a promise. Laughter erupted as Jamal and Mia grinned in delight. Inspiration flickered in their eyes, challenging Akim's apprehension. He shared their hopes, their desires, and together they embarked on this journey towards transformation. In the following weeks, an unstoppable force began to take shape. Akeem worked alongside Jamal and the others, stocking paint, shoveling dirt, and connecting with families in the area. Each day, he felt the vulnerability fade. The laughter, the teamwork, the palpable energy of healing filled the air. Akeem felt part of something real, something that transcended past scars. As the final touches were applied to Unity Playground, Akeem stepped back. The swings shone brightly, the slides glimmered, and the laughter of children rang loud and clear. It was everything they had dreamed of, a true symbol of acceptance and community. On opening day, the skies seemed to smile down, gracing them with a perfect summer day. Akeem stood at the entrance, heart overflowing as children dashed across the ground, exploring the new playground. Jamal and Mia beamed beside him, their joy infectious. "See? We did this together!" Jamal shouted, throwing an arm around Akeem's shoulder. Akeem laughed, joy bubbling from deep within. For the first time in a long while, he felt complete. His heart swelled with the knowledge that they had not only built a playground but also forged bonds that brought light into lives shadowed by fear. Finally, a young girl ran up to Akeem, eyes sparkling. "Thank you for the swings. They're the best." Her laughter resonated like music. A flood of warmth washed over him. In that moment, he realized that acceptance was not simply an act of charity, it was a choice to belong. All the fear and doubt that once marred his heart melted away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of community. As he stood there, Jamal and Mia by his side, he turned to them and asked, "What were your ideas for the next event?" The thrill of new beginnings whispered through the air. As the sun began to settle into a soft glow, Akeem held onto the knowledge that he had not only found himself, but had also laid roots that dug deeper than wealth ever could. In this community, in these friendships, the light was brighter than any past could taint, and for the first time, Akeem felt like home. Now that you've read this inspiring transformation, don't let it end here. You need to subscribe now to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like right away to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredibly moving ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us spread the joy.